Hello there, friends and sane persons. Hopefully that small technical snafu won't be a portent of things to come. Anyway, welcome to Wednesday Whimsy. Wednesday Whimsy is a short show that I do every Wednesday evening where I talk about a board game, a top 10 list, or some other topic that happens to be on my mind, usually a board game topic, and today is no exception. So, I kind of had my life invaded by an IP a couple years ago. This was the show Invincible that came out on Amazon Prime. Now, I loved the show. I watched it as quickly as I possibly could, and that wasn't enough. And so I bought the comics, which is like, three huge albums of comics in the three omnibus sets, and I read through the entire thing in like a week. I mean, I just ate this up. And I'll tell you, I don't really read comics. Occasionally I do, but it's not really my preferred way to consume stories. So it was really, it was really something special because I just couldn't get enough of it. So I heard that there was a board game coming out, and I saw that one came out. It was some little dice game, and it looked like it was pretty pathetic. And then I heard that another one was coming out from Direwolf, who does great games like Clank and Dune Imperium. So they've got, a good pedigree here. And that game is, of course, Invincible, the hero building game. So as soon as it was available for pre-order, I went ahead and ordered it because I just knew this was something I wanted. Even if it was terrible, an IP will sometimes take a game up a level for me. So tonight I'm going to tell you what I thought about it, and we will see. So what is the game about? Now I'm going to warn you, there aren't a lot of pictures on Board Game Geek, so I'm going to go from another website, and a lot of them are kind of prototypey, but don't worry, it's more, we'll talk about the game. So the game, you are a member of the new Guardians of the Globe, and I apologize if I spoiled the graphic novel or the Amazon Prime show. If you don't want to hear about it, then skip a little bit, but somebody, very early in the show, murders that world's Justice League, essentially. It's a team of heroes called the Guardians of the Globe. And at the same time, Mark Grayson he's the son of the world's greatest superhero who's not been murdered, and named Omni-Man. And he is inheriting superpowers, but they're just starting to develop. So this first episode is all about him kind of developing his powers, and then it gets real fast, I guess I'd say. So in the story, in the board game, you're kind of playing after the death of the Guardians, but you're really playing through mostly episodes of the show, right? You'll see, or episodes from the chapters from the comic. You're going to see villains that show up there, and you're trying to thwart their schemes and defeat them. The game has, I think, 8 different chapters. You can play them as a campaign, and I've started doing that. Or you can play them as standalone. There's really nothing that carries over between them other than your score, right? You can get a score and try and get a certain threshold at the end of the campaign. But it's not really a campaign that you would need to worry about. But yeah, you're taking the role of Mark, who's known as Invincible, or his friends Atom Eve, which is a great superhero name, Robot, and Rexplode. And you are going to go up against all these bad guys. And then you're trying to accomplish a goal. It's a cooperative game, and you win or lose together. So how does it work? This is what we would call sometimes a bag building game, and I recognize that term doesn't necessarily mean what we want it to, but that's okay. It kind of is what it is. And let me see if I can't show a picture here. And again, these are kind of prototypey, unfortunately, but that's okay. So you're going to be... There I go. Obviously having lots of technical difficulties. We're going to go to the share screen button. And like I said, you're going to have one of these characters. Again, prototype the artwork, but it'll... Doing you have X and to be game with 3 cubes of each color and 6 black cubes. And throughout the course of the game, you might improve that. And every turn, you don't really have turns, but when it's your go, or when you want to, Simultaneously, you can reach in the bag and pull out 3 cubes. And then you must place them into various action spots that are associated with those colors on your board. Now, the key is that there's a bunch of black cubes in there, and those are wild. And wild is good. Wild helps you do stuff. But also, if ever you pull your 5th black cube out, you are immediately essentially done for the round, right? You've crashed, you've exerted yourself too much, and you're out. And the only way you can avoid damage is if someone else is ready to be done and uses a rescue action to try and save you. And sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not. Then you have a hand of cards, which are going to be powers, and there's a currency in the game called confidence, and you're going to gain confidence through some of your actions, and then you'll spend cards, each kind of slot in below the um, in can have 1 card of each color, and you can then buy upgraded ones that go below anyway. And that's kind of how it is. You're going to use some powers to do damage, some powers to thwart the villain, which means that when the villain's negative effect would activate, it doesn't. You're going to be clearing out minions and big bads, and they're all kind of stories from the game. And that's kind of how it works. It's very simple. It's simultaneous. It does take a little while because there's a lot of thought and there's a lot of cooperation in it. But it's kind of how it plays. It's kind of like the Quacks of Quedlinburg sort of pulling chips out of the bag mechanism with this bust, the threat of a bust. But unlike that game, I mean, these black cubes you're going to pull out are actually pretty good. So unless you have too many. So what makes the game special? The first and foremost, is the theme, right? I told you this is a comic series that I'm really heavily in love with. I recommend it to everybody who comes here. I mean, not young children; it's very violent, but I mean, I'm always trying. I'm a great missionary for this, and I feel that you would recognize if you showing up. Well, we got to kill him. There's a guy trying to blow up Mount Rushmore. We have to stop him, and we have to, not just stop him, but also stop him from destroying the mountain. We also then have to defeat him. So, there's a big bad guy that shows up. You have to fight him. It's stories that you don't need to know the IP, but if you do, it's really fun, right? It just sort of feels like you're playing through an episode of the show or a chapter of the comic, and I just love that. The mechanisms are also a lot of fun. This concept of pulling things out of your bag and determining when to stop, a little bit of push your luck. It's really fun, right? Because, the first couple of times, you're like, well, of course I can pull something out. There's nothing wrong here. And then you have 3 cubes. And the second you pull that 5th cube out, you're done. And you're like, well, I always have to pull out sets of 3. So, I could dip my hand in and I could just be done. And so you're sort of balancing that. There are powers that let you manipulate that and change it, but I mean, you're really sort of dancing on the knife's edge there, because it really sucks if you have to stop, right? If you pull out that 5th cube and you also take a lot of damage. But it's a really satisfying mechanism. It's something everyone understands. It's previous whatever. I know he can take, and I'm gonna need you to come and be near me in case I crash, so you can rescue me. Whatever it may be. Great combos. Everything you get is useful. I just really like that. So I mean, the game mechanisms. It's pretty straightforward, right? It's not hard to learn. It's hard to teach, but not hard to learn. So there you go. Those are some special things. I just really like it. It's just a lot of fun, and it's good cooperation. So where is the but? The only but I have for this game is the component quality, and what I'm speaking about particularly is the boards. Like the player boards warp terribly. The sort of location boards are very plain. They're very functional, but it's like there's a green area, a purple area, and a yellow area, and they don't really have any character. The cards themselves are great. In fact, I don't think it's even art from the show. I think it's maybe art from the comics or unique art. It's really, I mean, the artwork's great. The card quality's fine. You're not really doing a lot with the cards other than you have a hand of five and you're going to pick one or two to play. But I mean, the cubes are functional. And the bags are kind of nice. Negative. So, what is my final rating? Well, I really like this game. I mean, I've played this game. I played this game all last weekend. I would go play it now. I'm enjoying the campaign, even though it's not really a campaign. It's just a series of games. Um, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. It's almost there for me. It's a high 9. It's almost a 10. The only thing that would push it over is if it had maybe a few more heroes, because it gets a little dull being the same four, right? They're fun, they're different. Oh, I should mention that as what makes it special. Each of the characters really feels unique, and they feel like, the things that those characters would do. I think that's great. I just I just wish there were more. There's plenty of missions. It's kind of the opposite of most of these games where you end up with 2 missions and 27 heroes, right? It's the opposite of Cthulhu Death May Die, for example. So I just wish there were more. If they would come out with a few more of the heroes and maybe some chapters from, later in Invincible, the Invincible War, the battle with Conquest, the general or the Commander Thrag on the surface of the sun, whatever it may be. I kind of wish, they could put Alan the alien in there. They could some a little bit it 0.5 a 9.5 did. Recommend try before you buy always, and I think you'll have a great time with it. I think it's a great implementation. It's one of the better IP games that I've played in a long time, or at least in a little while. As good as He-Man, at least, in its embracing of the theme. And that's what I got for you. Anyway, just a quick one tonight. I'm having some technical difficulties, so I don't want to tempt the gods any more than I have to. So I'm going to end it there, and I'm going to wish you safe travels and courage when you need it, and I will see you back again next week for another episode of Wednesday Whimsy. Bye-bye.